Covering you from your LB1 to your taxi squad, this is IDP Nation.
Manning back, pumps, he fires to the far side. It's intercepted and running into the touchdown.
Your home for the best in IDP and draft coverage.
Daniel has time in the pocket, steps up, and he's going to be hit from the side, and he's going down. That's a sack.
Here are the hosts of IDP Nation, Hollywood and Kyle B.
Welcome back to IDP Nation. I'm your host, Hollywood Titan. I'm joined by my co-host, Sean. What's going on, brother?
I have some complaints about the intro.
And we'll see you next week.
And y'all have a good one.
Well, I do need to get that worked on because I fired Dano, I fired Kyle. It's hard to find good help. It really is. So, yeah, I'm going to have to get you on.
It also says it says one of the best in IDP, and I don't agree with that. So we need to take that out too.
Well, it's kind of technicality.
If we get fact checked, I don't know we'll pass.
Well, we used to have a stat checker. Dynasty
Right.
Trip used to be our stat boy, and he, I had to fire him too. I fired everybody. So, team no edit. I've fired everybody.
Yeah, right.
It is what it is.
Everybody's doing so much greater now that they're gone. I'm starting to think. Maybe I should.
Oh, shots fired already tonight. Oh,
Already.
But yeah, thank y'all for joining, tuning in.
Yeah,
Or if you're
both of
listening
you
to this
means
later.
a lot.
Both of you. And when we say both, that's me and Sean.
Yeah. Hold on, I can turn another
But
phone on.
Right.
We get
But
three views.
if you're listening on the podcast, you actually watch the YouTube later, which some of y'all have been doing. I know the YouTube is new. That's something new that we're trying to do. So we thank you for that. But free agency is upon us. It's days away, and now they have this illegal tampering period where you can actually illegally tamper,
Yeah, right.
if that makes sense.
It didn't. But it's right.
It is
But
right.
it's
It is right. I know that sounds screwed up, and that's not normal Hollywood talk that you're hearing. That's actual sentences right there that's being said that are true.
Yeah. That
Illegal
was real stuff.
or wait a minute. Legal, illegal tampering.
Right.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah,
I assume it became hard to find every team over every free agent signed within the first 30 seconds of free agency. So it's their way of saying, don't get caught.
oh, I'm sure. Unless you're just being blatantly stupid about it. Yeah.
Speaking of stupid, there's been a lot of news and releases this week.
Oh man. So we picked the topic free agency, pre-free agency to discuss some of the free agents, right? And we were going to do a top 20, and well, lo and behold, the day of the show,
Yeah.
the NFL just decided, well, let's release and trade everybody. So, I don't know that it'll be in order top 20, but we're going to hit some of the bigger names and talk about those and discuss those. Man, this is going to be a wild free agency, Sean.
Yeah.
And
With some of these big names already kind of re-signing, I was worried we were going to see everybody on a new team, and just the entire linebacking scene was going to be turned upside down. So it's cool to see some of them coming back, a little normalcy, but there's still a lot of names out there. That's just
yeah,
linebacker.
Yeah, and we're still not done. I mean, until the
No.
free agency actually kicks off, this is going to be crazy because you've got you've got teams that are just flat out releasing players now, and then you've
Yeah.
got teams that are doing the post June 1 cuts where they're actually free agents, but
Yeah.
it's going to be after June 1st. So um, this thing is going to be insane, crazy. Um, we've got some news and notes. I'm really not going to touch on um, like the free agent part of it because that's the main topic. So we'll get to that in a few minutes. But yeah, this this free agency period is going to be crazy. And before we get started, I don't know that I've ever seen in my years of watching the NFL one position that is going to be as dominant and affect everything free agency, the draft, everything NFL wise as this edge. I call it class, but edge group because you've got a pretty good, um, you got a really good edge class coming up in the draft, right? With Abdul Carter and James Pierce and James or Shamar Stewart, and the list goes on and on. I mean, it's a deep, deep draft class. But you've got this whole free agent thing. Miles Garrett's pissed off. Crosby got signed. You got Bosa being released, and we'll get into this, but there is a lot of huge edge rusher names out there that's already in the NFL, and you're adding this deep draft class to it. I don't know that I've ever seen this from a single position. Not like this. This is crazy.
Yeah, I think especially this past year, we didn't see our normal elite guys near the top either. Where Miles Garrett, T.J. Watt, Nick Bosa, all
Right.
these guys getting into the 18 to 20 sack range. We didn't have that either, so it feels like the entire group is just wide open. Like it could be anybody's time to be elite. Even some of these rookies coming straight out the gate. If they hit the right team and the right situation, who's to say they're not going to be the top guy, this season? It feels that wide open.
Yeah, it's going to be. I think this is going to be crazy with what some teams are doing, and we're going to get into that here in a minute. As far as news and notes go, the Dallas Cowboys signed defensive tackle Osa Adegawizu to a 4-year, $80 million deal. I think that was smart on their part. Man, they've got so much going on down there in Dallas. I think they're endangering on being, in a way, I think they're in danger of being Tennessee Titans level, right? Like as far as depth. Because when you get to a point where you have no depth,
yeah,
Sean can tell you that freaking sucks because that puts you in a bad spot.
Well, we got kind of spoiled there for a few years with Mike Vrabel being there. The injuries that piled up every season, and he was able to get guys to perform at their absolute best to really help. The Titans had no business being in the playoffs a couple of those years, and he got the best out of those players. And I feel like that was more him and probably some scheme. But yeah, it's depth is key. The Titans are down to nothing, and backing nothing up is even more nothing. But yeah, the Cowboys with their cap situation and just trying to balance out these huge contracts, it's getting hairy for them. Some of these other teams as well. Some of them are just completely, have a fire sale right now, which is just crazy to be a playoff team and then just start throwing away all these pieces. It's wild right now. I'm looking at you, Seattle. What is happening?
Right. Kind of going to our edge discussion already. The Las Vegas Raiders signed defensive end Max Crosby to a 3-year, $106.5 million extension with $91.5 million guaranteed, making him the highest non-quarterback player being paid.
Good for him.
For all the Raiders' struggles, they hit a home run here because you let this guy go, and you're teetering on Cleveland Brown level. So, and we'll get to that in a moment too. But good for them though, right? I mean, they're keeping their star pass rusher, and I know he kind of had a down year last year a little bit, but you have to keep this guy. You have to.
Yeah, well, a little different situation here where I think he met with the new coach and GMs and owners and everything, and he likes his situation good enough to extend his contract. Clearly, he feels that this team is getting better, or at least had a plan to get better, unlike some other teams here in a minute. So yeah,
Well,
it was a smart thing to do for both of them, I think.
Pete Carroll's a player's coach too, right? I mean,
yeah.
So
we got
that
Tom Brady
has a lot to do with
is being very involved in some of these decisions as well. So having a former player, pulling some strings and really, coaching his guy up and say, look, man, we're just hanging there. We're going to get you. We're going to get you paid. We're going to get you a lot of help. We're really going to go for this. Their division is tough, though.
It is tough, but I don't think the experience that you just mentioned is being talked about enough, right? Tom Brady with all his championships, Pete Carroll with his championship in Seattle. I mean, they are proven winners, and getting players to buy into that, I think there's a huge change coming in Las Vegas. And of course, we're an IDP show. They just traded for Geno Smith, which I thought was a great move, right?
Yeah.
A veteran quarterback who's proven, knows your system. Pete Carroll knows him. He knows his system. So I think the change is on in Las Vegas, and getting Crosby to buy into that and sign an extension was huge.
Yeah, that's going back to, I think they told him their plan, and clearly they thought something must have been going down soon that he, was good with. It's not Myles Garrett's situation where he just wants completely out, and, he's buying into the team, to the direction they're going. What I thought was really interesting was the entire trade proposal that Seattle had, where they would have sent Geno and DK for Max Crosby, which obviously the Raiders declined, and it said they declined very quickly. But you're looking at a solid quarterback option, really good wide receiver, but you would lose your probably elite, one-of-a-kind edge rusher. What do you think? Was that a good move by the Raiders?
To decline that, yes. I mean, DK is a star, big, physical. You just don't find receivers that big, that physical, who can be that damn fast. You just don't. And Pete Carroll knows him, right? So he knows what his strong points are. He knows what his weaknesses are. But and just going away from fantasy, you don't find players like Max Crosby every day who can shut down the run, get you close to 80, 90, 100 tackles, and still be one of the best pass rushers in the league. So,
right.
I mean, that's tough, but I think that was the right move, I think.
So they still got Geno, and I would say DK is probably still on the table if they want to go that route. I mean, they can hit over all three.
Smart move, right? You needed a quarterback. Vegas was in that. Vegas is in that Tennessee, that Cleveland, etc. level where you needed a quarterback, and
yeah,
I think this made sense. I think Brady signed off of it. Of course, Carroll signed off on it. I think it just makes sense. You got Brock Bowers. By the way, his stock is shooting through the freaking moon. If you're trying to get him right now, you might as well quit because your ass is going to overpay big time. Now, if you're trying to trade him, you're going to get a king's ransom because, man, the hype around this is right or wrong. The hype around this, the perception is going to be crazy.
Hey, we might be seeing his peak value too. I mean, we've already seen what he can do as a receiver. And
right. I mean, he broke
like I said, the
record as a rookie. That's insane.
Yeah. The hype's already through the roof. Yeah, I mean, if you got another tight end on your team, yeah, go for it. I would trade. It's
right. We touched on Myles Garrett for a minute there. We talked about him last week too with all the issues, but I saw a thing today that he requested to talk to the owner, Haslam. And Haslam basically said, well, he declined to talk to him, which I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. He declined to talk to him and told him to talk to the GM. We had this discussion going in the Discord. By the way, join our Discord. But we got that going on, and I made the comment to one of our listeners, Sal, who listens to everything we do. Shout out to Sal Cusimano. But I said, you know what? This thing is going to get so ugly. It's already so ugly that I wouldn't be surprised that Garrett doesn't say, trade me to a contender where I can win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to retire. And it wasn't long after I made that comment that, what's her name? She got the funny name.
Was it Rossini?
Diana. Yeah, Diana Rossini. She come back and posted something similar to that. Like, he's so good at it, of stuff outside of football that maybe he looks at that. And I think that's a real possibility. I mean, you think about it. Jim Brown did that, right? He retired. He said, I'm done. Barry Sanders did the same thing. Calvin Johnson. I think in this era where players really don't have leverage, like the Le'Veon Bells and for every 90%, it's probably more than that. I would say 95% of the players don't have leverage. But when you're a guy like Myles Garrett and you dominate year after year after year, no matter how good or how shitty your team is, you produce and you make a demand. It's not about money. He doesn't care about money. He's set for life money-wise, right? He wants to win a championship. And Cleveland couldn't give him a plan to do that. They have so many issues on the roster. I really, if this pops up in the morning and Myles Garrett says, screw it, I'm retiring, I would not be shocked. I really would not.
Yeah, it's night and day, his situation compared to Max Crosby, where Crosby, he met with everybody. And, he was told, we have this plan. They probably included him on a lot of it and worked with him. And here they're basically saying, we own you. We're not getting rid of you. And that's the end of it. There's no discussion here. It's a bad look for an organization that already looks bad enough with the Deshaun Watson situation and contract and all that. It sucks, man. To see a player handcuffed, and I wish nothing good for the Browns this year. I don't think that we're going to have anything good anyway. But if you're a rookie coming in and you're seeing this, you're hoping you don't get drafted by Cleveland, right?
Right, and they have the glaring need at quarterback. I've seen some people say, well, let Garrett go or trade him, whatever, and draft Carter. Fine. I would almost agree with you in that if you didn't need a damn quarterback? You haven't had a quarterback worth of shit in freaking, I don't know, since Bernie Kosar.
Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, well, Baker. Yeah, Baker Mayfield. But,
and
I
they
mean,
messed that up.
yeah, they messed that up. And their need at QB is just, I know
So-
we're a defensive show, but it kind of ties
Yeah.
together. This is just crazy.
If the cap was right and they didn't have all that money invested in Watson, if Seattle was willing to offer, Geno and DK for Max Crosby, I have to think they would have made a similar offer for Myles Garrett. Or, they would at least entertain that. So Cleveland could have.
I would think so, yeah.
Cleveland could have got both of those and then drafted Carter, and now we're legitimate again. But yeah, it's such a mess right there. I think it's going to be hard. They're going to have to overpay, and I don't think they can much to get people to come to this team. When you start holding a guy like Garrett hostage, basically, it speaks volumes for these players. So they're going to lose out on future free agents. They're going to, the rookies coming in, they're going to be in such a bad situation that they're going to, probably underperform. It's just bad, man. I hate seeing this.
And how bad do you have to be as an organization to be worse? And we're going to talk about this team here in a minute. How bad do you have to be as an organization to be worse than Cincinnati when it comes to paying players? The Bengals don't want to pay anybody.
Yeah,
Jesse Bates, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, T. Higgins. I mean, the list goes on and on. They have a history of not wanting to pay up for players, and somehow the Browns are way more shittier than the Bengals. Coincidence in the same division.
Yeah, at least, they were like, hey, Trey Hendrickson, go try to find you a trade. They're not even entertaining trade offers for Myles Garrett. It's wild, man.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy.
I just don't understand what their plans are. Either one of these organizations. I don't know what the deal is.
Yeah. And we'll talk on the Bengals here in a minute. You're going to hear a theme tonight. You heard it last week too, right? This edge class, edge group is insane what's about to happen. The Los Angeles Chargers, they've released Joey Bosa. I kind of saw that coming, right? Good player, really good player, but he just can't freaking stay healthy. And there's rumors of a possible reunion with his brother Nick Bosa on the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll have to see how that goes, but that would be pretty cool. But as far as Joey goes, man, all the way back to the days of Seahawks Dano, right? Best ability is availability. And if your ass can't be on the field, fantasy, NFL, whatever you're doing in life, if you're not available, I mean, that's kind of where it's at with him.
I've never had him on a fantasy team ever, and it was because of how injury prone he was, and people were paying too high for him. His ADP was always way higher than what. Yeah, even on his best year, 12.5 sacks.
Right.
And he was being drafted as one of the elite guys, which the hype was real. But that was his only, I want to say his only year he played every game. I could be wrong. 12.5 sacks is the most he's ever done.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about him in our free agency talk. But let me see here. One quick second. He has played 9 years and has played the full season 3 times.
Yeah, I'm shocked it's that high, if I'm being honest.
Actually, maybe twice, because what year did they go from 16 to 17 games?
I think it's been 4 years now, 3 years now.
Okay, so if it's
That's a good
4,
question.
if it was the year after COVID, which was 2020, 2021 he played 16 games, so he missed it. For argument's sake, right or wrong, somebody fact check us. We're going to say 2020 COVID year. Before then, he played 2 full seasons. Since then, none. He's missed at least 1 game since the COVID year of 2020. And like I said, we'll get into this in a minute in our free agent talk. We're staying with the theme of the edge class, right? And we're going to sidetrack here for a minute. The Chicago Bears did not tender restricted free agent linebacker Jack Sanborn, which now makes him a free agent. They have T.J. Edwards.
Tremaine Edmonds.
They have Jermaine Edmonds. Sanborn took a big hit when those two were signed. He's shown he can be a pretty good player when put in a starting role. Now, he got outshined by those two, but what do you think the market for him will be?
With as many teams that need a linebacker, I think he'll be able to come in and probably compete for like an LB2 position on a team. You're not going to sign him as just a full-on starter,
Right.
Because even though he's shown some pretty good flashes, it's been limited. So maybe he can compete for a starting position, and if he can get next to a stud, Baltimore, where you already have Roquan there, which is funny. Roquan's one of the guys that kept him down. If he could start beside him, because clearly they don't trust Simpson, and I believe the others are free agents. Or, maybe if Greenlaw leaves and, he slots in beside Fred Warner or something like that, he could probably shine, but that's probably best case scenario. More than likely, he's probably going to be a backup or maybe a third linebacker where he's on the field maybe 30% of the time, 40% in some rundowns, and then comes off. But, yeah, best case scenario, I'd say he could be an LB2 on a team. But
Yeah,
fantasy-wise,
I would agree with that.
Fantasy-wise, if it's redraft, I'm holding off till I see him go somewhere and see who else is there. Dynasty, if I got him, I'm probably going to hold on to him. Unless I just have to cut somebody, then maybe cut him. But, yeah, it's kind of a wait and see right now, I think.
Yeah, I think you have to, right? Because it's the unknown, right? I mean,
Sure.
He's got some potential, maybe not top tier potential, but he's got some solid low LB2, early LB3 potential.
Yeah.
He's shown he can produce in that role, so you kind of got to wait and see where he lands. At this point, you're not going to get true value if you try to trade him, right?
Right.
So I'm with you. I think you got to hold on him right now and see how it pans out. The Philadelphia Eagles released both corners, Darius Slay and James Bradbury. 2 really good corners, right? 2 veteran corners who's produced, who's shown year after year that they can hold up. But, man, when stock is up for Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, right? The 2 rookies that they had last year. I don't think this is getting talked about enough. Before last year, Philadelphia had problems with their secondary. Huge problems. And they addressed it crazy with Mitchell and Cooper.
Yeah.
In the draft. 2 corners back to back they drafted. And both of those corners were studs this year. And I think with how they played as rookies, of course, Philadelphia won the Super Bowl. With how they played with 2 rookie corners on cheap contracts,
Mm-hmm.
it was a no-brainer to let Slay and Bradbury go. Right? I'm sure they'll both land somewhere else and get good deals, but this is
They're
how teams win. This is how teams are stay competitive. Right here, you find rookies that can contribute at a high level on a cheap price tag, and let you use that money or allocate that money to areas that you need to upgrade. And Howie Roseman is killing it with the GM part of this.
yeah, they've been able to invest their money in their receivers, a quarterback, running back, to really
Right.
boost the offense by drafting so well on the defense. Bradbury, I get cutting him. Both these guys are getting old, especially for corners. I do wonder if without Slay there, if we may see these guys struggle a little bit, especially next year. Mitchell and DeJean having such a good corner in Slay, I think that guys are scared to throw at him. They know his reputation, you know. But maybe it doesn't affect. I don't know. It depends on who
I
their
don't
third
know.
guy's going to be.
True. And just the way they've built this defense is,
Well,
man.
that's
You
another thing with that defensive front. You know, they drafted all these guys from Georgia, got this big beefy young line, and they're getting ready to probably lose a couple of these guys as well. So it's going to be interesting to see how big these pieces are. Milton Williams is likely gone. Josh Sweat, I'm sure they're not going to be able to afford to keep him. Somebody's going to give him a stupid amount of money after that Super Bowl game. So you're losing two big guys up front. We have one edge rusher, losing probably at that time, Darius Slay, I'd say, was considered your top corner. It's going to strain these guys a little bit, at least. But Nolan Smith, but again, this goes back to building depth. These guys had pretty good depth.
right. So as we all know, we talk about it every week. I'm a dynasty guy. You're a redraft guy. Dynasty, I'm in on Mitchell and Dijon, both of them. I'm in. If you can get them on your roster, do it, right?
Sure.
As far as redraft, where do you stand with either one or both?
Yeah, I'm a streamer, especially at the cornerback position. I think.
Okay, Johnny the Greek.
I mean, it's proven. Unless you got a guy that can week after week give you enough tackles like Alontae Taylor, or finding that guy in that right role, Kenny Moore, for years. Unless you have one of those guys, it's not worth investing a whole lot, especially in redraft for a cornerback. And these guys having such good rookie seasons, the hype is still there. The Super Bowl win, all that hype is still there. I see these guys probably getting overdrafted, and I don't know if they'll be able to return any value. Like I say, cornerback, I'm not investing a lot, not on draft day, but some people do it different. Cooper DeJean playing more of that slot role. He's probably the bigger target of the two just because he will have those opportunities up near the line. So he can give you those tackles, possibly blitz and whatnot. We've seen what he can do pick six wise, so that's always a plus. So between the two, I would say he has probably more value in redraft. But again, that's going to depend on matchups and everything else too.
Yeah, I mean it does, but I would agree with you on that point, right? So clearly the Eagles are going to roll with, I say rookies, they're now entering their second year, but they're going to roll with the two young guys. Quinyon Mitchell has kind of proven to be somewhat more of the shutdown corner, right? So
Which is what
you kind of mentioned it. what you exactly you don't want that fantasy. So with that, I think Cooper DeJean is the guy you do want because they're going to stay away from Mitchell. They're going to attack
Yeah.
him, right? And he's a really good player. So I think if you're trying to trade or acquire one of the two, I think it's DeJean. I think he's the guy that you want.
Yeah, again, the slot roles seem to be the biggest producing roles. Again, they're up near the line of
Right.
scrimmage, so they're involved in the run games, the short passing games. Yeah. The closer you are to the ball, the better shot at the tackle. So yeah, if Mitchell is the shutdown guy, people are going to avoid him like Surtain. He's fantastic football player, but fantasy wise, he's hit and miss. It's more miss because teams avoid you. If you're not getting the ball your way, then you're not getting me points.
Exactly. I 100% agree. Let's go back. And I told you at the beginning of the show, there was a theme here the last 2 weeks, the edge class. So at age 29, Cincinnati Bengals defensive end Sam Hubbard is retiring after 7 seasons, right? He's going to end his career with 398 tackles, 98 QB hits, and 38 and a half sacks. I think injuries had a little bit to do with this.
Yeah.
When he was healthy, he was a legit number 2 edge or defensive end to his counterpart, and we'll talk about his counterpart Trey Hendrickson here in a minute. With him retiring, the Bengals have to find a pass rusher to bookend.
Somebody.
Pause for a minute. Somebody to pair with Hendrickson. And I say that lightly because I'm going to go ahead and tag this too. Hubbard is retiring, and Hendrickson asked for a trade, and the Bengals have given him permission to seek a trade. And he's had 35 sacks in the last 2 years. And he has 1 year left on his contract. So 35 sacks in 34 games. He hasn't missed a game the last 2 years. 35 sacks. Do you know how hard it is to have an average of 1+ sacks a game? I mean, that's insane level. You think about some of the best pass rushers in the league's history. These 2 seasons has to rank right up there. And rumor is, well, I won't say rumor, but it's out there that they are looking for a 3rd round draft pick. Now, you will get into this later, but if I'm a team like Tennessee, it needs a pass rusher. I'd give up a 3rd round pick for him in a heartbeat. Would you not?
I mean, they had a decent one already. It would have been nice to pair the two for a 3rd rounder.
Oh yeah, that would have been hell on wheels, right?
Yeah. As far as Hubbard goes, in IDP, he was probably the definition of an edge 2, defensive end 2. He got you the tackles. The sacks were, a bonus when he did get those, but you could always count on tackles each week. So when, drafting your team, special redraft, it's get a playmaker, one of these top guys, and then you just need somebody solid that can contribute numbers every week and not goose egg you. Sam Hubbard was that guy. So yeah, it sucks to see him kind of go. He was a safety net of sorts. But for Hendrickson, like I say, he's popped off the last few years. That's been kind of his game, is sack or nothing. Where, compared to Hubbard was the tackles bonus if you got a sack. But yeah, as of late, man, Hendrickson a sack a game. That's fantastic. And a bit of a late bloomer. I think this goes back to situation with the organization again, where we see Cincinnati not wanting to pay their guys and the money that they got to fork out on offense for Chase and Higgins and Burrow and who knows what else. I think he wants out of that situation just like Garrett does. I think it's a bad look for an organization again. Something's going on in Ohio, and I don't know what it is.
It's the water. We need Mike Waller on here to tell us what's in the water.
Yeah. Is that Canadian water or is that American water up there? I don't know.
And now we need Carlina here from the Canada. By the way, we have figured it out. Me and Sean figured out why Carlina is not with us on IDP Nation. It's these damn Canadian tariffs. He just can't afford to make it here. Yeah. But I agree with you. I agree with you on Cincinnati. And here's what's weird to me, right? Sam Hubbard comes out and says, I'm retiring. I get it. Injuries. Some players just say, I've had enough and I want a better. I've made my money. I've done what I could do. I've been to a Super Bowl. Maybe not won one, but I was to a Super Bowl.
I think they were going to push for him. He was already starting to lose some playing time anyway, too. So I think he was worried that he was going to be gone. Plus, like I say, the injuries. He got that touchdown at the end of last year, and I forget what's
his last play of his career.
Achilles. Yeah, he had a major injury with it, and which is it's cool. But yeah, I mean, he's born in Cincinnati, played at Ohio State, drafted by the Bengals. Yeah. He didn't want to go anywhere else.
He did not.
So, you factor in injuries and everything, too. I think that's why he's out, and the organization, it sucks. Again, we're seeing a bad organization ruin some careers.
And here's the thing. A couple of things. One, kudos to Sam Hubbard, right? As you said, played his whole career in the state of Ohio. You just don't see that anymore. Not in today's sports at any level. Sports being able to trade and transfer and hold out and whatever. Kudos to him. He earned it. But with the news of him retiring, don't you find it kind of weird that Cincinnati said, sure, go ahead, Trey Henderson. See if you can find a trade. That is insane to me. Now, again, as I said earlier, they don't want to pay players. They really don't because they have a cheap ass owner, and I get that. But Jesus, you're going to lose both Hubbard, and you're willing to lose both Hubbard and Henderson. What the hell are you going to do if he finds a partner and somebody says, "Hey, I'll give you this for Henderson," and they just said that they would take a third for him? For example, what if Tennessee comes up and says, "Hey, I don't think Tennessee has a third, but what if they did and said, hey, we'll give you a third and whatever for Henderson," and they say, yeah, you were without your two best pass rushers. What are you going to do?
And not only that defense was not good last year, and that was proven week after week, where the offense had to score 60 points. How many games was it? 7 games in a row that they just couldn't score over 40 points, or the defense gave up so many points that the offense just, it sucks to see that offense play as good as it did.
Right.
And that defense was so bad. And now I'm not even going to say arguably your best defensive player. He is their best defensive player.
Right.
You're telling him, yeah, go ahead. We don't want you, basically.
And you got Jermaine Pratt, who's maybe out.
He wants out. Yeah, he requested out too. So it's a bad look, man.
I heard this morning, not to get sidetracked, and I was listening to a local radio on the way to work. Cincinnati could make this work for everything. They're just cheap as hell. They could pay Jamar Chase. They could pay T. Higgins. They could pay Trey Henderson. They can pay all three of these and keep these guys there. They're cheap because
wild to me.
Because with the guaranteed money that you can pay players up front and void years that you can tack onto the back of the contracts.
Right.
they could pay all three of these and keep them there, and they're just whatever the reason, they're just cheap as hell. They always have been. If you
They
date
have
back
to pay money. I mean, they have to use so much of the cap, and well, we
which
see
is why
Higgins.
I think that's why they tagged Higgins to help with that. What is it? What did we say last week? I think it's 90% or 80% that you have to use of your cap money.
Yeah, you have to use it on contracts.
Right. So, I mean, it's just crazy. But
yeah, Higgins was tagged, and then Chase's, responded right away with a I forget what pitcher gif or whatever he used to when he tagged Higgins in that. When we found out he was being franchise tagged, his response was more or less an eye roll of disappointment. Like, here we go again.
Here's the crazy thing, though. You have a legit elite quarterback in Joe Burrow. Like him or not, you have the quarterback that puts you in a championship window. He's already took you to one Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He didn't win it, but he's already took you to one Super Bowl. Do you know how good he is? He's covering up so many deficiencies for this team that it's insane.
They have one of the top two, if not the top one, wide receiver.
Yes. Arguably, this past 2 seasons, the best defensive end.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, what do you? I mean,
it's wild, man.
This blows my mind. I just, as bad as, and what I said earlier, as bad as Cincinnati is, as we're discussing.
Yeah.
How freaking bad do you have to be if you're fucking Cleveland right now? Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Wow. Cleveland and Cincinnati makes freaking Tennessee look like a choir boy.
we just don't have anything.
Exactly. We don't have anything, and we might be a step up over both of them.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
We got sidetracked.
So here's one. Well, I'm going to delete this right here, this next one, because we're going to talk about him here in a minute.
Yeah, for sure.
That was so. Speaking of our Titans, today they released edge rusher specialist Harold Landry. It's a complete shit show in Tennessee, right? I mean, you're coming off a 3
has the
season.
money.
But they do.
They have.
Hopefully, they go after Trey Hendrickson, do something right with your life. For the love of God, Tennessee.
They're not. They're going to screw this up somewhere.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
And then they're going to ruin somebody in the draft.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Uh,
we need to move on from this topic because you're going to get me started.
Yeah. Blood pressure going up? Or is it just bad lighting? I'm trying to see. Yeah.
It could be a little both, and it could be a little bit of the adult beverage situation that's going on, and I'm going to delete this next one too.
The martinis. Gotcha.
Oh yeah, the martini. I love a good martini.
Yeah.
As long as it don't have those fucking olives in it, because that's some fucking bullshit.
Yeah, it's a bit wild to me. Harold Landry, he's a 70 tackle guy around the 9 to 12 sack range. Not fully elite pass rusher, but he's right behind him as far as consistency and being solid, even with that ACL injury. It took him a little while to look comfortable last year, but once he did, he's right back to the guy I was expecting. So somebody's going to get a good player.
Right. And the thing with Tennessee is they just don't have any depth. They have some good players.
Yeah. They just
as far as stars, they have some really good players, but their depth is freaking garbage.
And they got nothing in return for him. He's going to be a really good player on another team, and I'm going to assume that their asking price was stupid. I can't believe that a team would not be willing to give a sixth, fifth, whatever.
I mean, if you're asking a third for Hendrickson, if I was Tennessee, I would probably take a fifth for Landry. Yeah, I'd take a fifth for Landry. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'd probably give a fourth for the guy.
If I needed a pass rusher and couldn't afford a Hendrickson or a Garrett or whoever, because I think Landry, he's not a DN or an edge one. He's more of the.
He's on that tail end. Yeah, top L2.
I think he's more of a 2/3 for me. I really do. I mean, I like the guy. I thought he's done well, but I think he's more of a low end 2, early 3 guy for me as far as edge.
The reason being for me, it's the tackles that really help boost his floor. Where, a guy like Daniil Hunter, always, 10, 12 sacks or more. He would always have that 50, 60, 80 tackle. I think he got 80 a few times. That high tackle floor always kept him right there with the other guys. And same thing for Landry.
Daniil Hunter had 100 tackles one year, so I get it with that.
Yeah. So if you can get 70 tackles every year, Trey Hendrickson's probably never had 70 tackles. He's like a 40 tackle kind of guy. That's a big difference. Double the tackles.
But when you're getting 17 and a half sacks for 2 years in a row, that makes up for a lot.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He's elite, where Landry's just underneath that, and his high tackle floor boosts him for me. But yeah.
Right.
Is that?
Yep, I agree.
I think we're good on news and notes, right?
Yeah, we already talked about the last one. Like I said, main event is free agency. Before we get to that, we gotta do our
you got a sponsor for us?
We do. A lifelong sponsor, and they have been so good to us. Trophy Smack. I don't care what you're doing, fantasy, if it's a real life job where you want to recognize your top seller.
Yeah.
Right. Even if you want to recognize your loser, they got stuff for the losers, right? Like,
that's true.
Your worst fantasy. I mean, they got everything. But every year they are kind enough to donate rings to us for our listener leagues. And there it is. I want to show it off just for Sean.
That looks awesome. I can't wait to get it.
Just for Sean, because Sean was a listener league winner, and I'm going to make him painfully beg for this, for me to send this to him. But yeah, there's the ring. It's a black ring with gold engraving. Man, this thing is awesome.
Yeah, if you get on the website, I think they have one other that is black as well. It's slightly different. Doesn't have the shield, a little different lettering at all. They've actually added a lot of rings since the last time I looked on there. And so their expansion on that. Of course, the belts are top notch, and they're customizing just about any image or logo that you want on there. I've even seen a custom strap or two to go with those. Snake skin, multicolors. They got the chains. They had some grills at one time. I mean, anything that you want to look flashy,
rings, belts. I mean, if you can think it, by God, they've got it, and it's quality stuff. It's really high quality stuff. Looks good, feels good. I almost feel like Deion Sanders. Look good, feel good, play good, right? That's where it is. It comes in a neat package, right? Comes in a neat package for you, little box. I can't thank them enough for all they've done. Year after year, they donate to us free of charge. and I'm a firm believer in you get what you pay for, right? Are their prices the cheapest? No. But if when you pay for cheap stuff, you get cheap stuff. When you pay for quality, you get quality, and that is exactly what Trophy Smack is. Um, so we do want to thank them so much for sponsoring us and giving us rings every year. Like I said, Sean won the league this year, so I wanted to keep this and kind of promote it for a week or two, but I'm going to get this in the mail with our other listener league winners. Um, man, I can't wait till Sean gets this because I think seeing it on the TV or on YouTube or whatever just doesn't do it justice. Once you get this thing, I mean, because the black is like a dark charcoal black, and then this gold engraving, gold lettering, man, it just pops. I can't wait for y'all to get this. But again, we thank Trophy Smack. We are so happy to partner with them, and we thank you. So we're almost an hour, and we haven't even hit the main event up here.
We've got sidetracked once or twice.
We did. We got sidetracked. Yeah, maybe I did fire Kyle and Dan. I think I did.
I'm probably going to get sidetracked again, if I'm being honest.
Oh, well, I definitely am. So we're talking free agency. We're right, and we're talking IDP free agents. If you listened last week, we were going to do the top 20, but with everything going on the last few days, we're still going to do the 20, but maybe not in order. I know Sean's got his list here. I got my paperwork that I will add once the show is over. But at number 1, you've got Zach Vaughn, as well did I. He had to be the IDP free agent prize, right? Both NFL and fantasy, especially fantasy. He was the top prize.
I mean, as good as he was for fantasy, I mean, he was fantastic for the NFL too. That we were talking last week, our IDP MVP, we both picked Vaughn. His value, you got him for near nothing, and he blew up, delivered every week with tackles, sacks, interceptions, fumbles. It wasn't just a few big games. I mean, he was consistent all season, and he's staying in Philly. He did re-sign. Got him, I believe it's a 3-year deal.
Yes, they re-signed him to a 3-year, $51 million deal. He had 150 plus tackles last year, was an All-Pro, and finished 5th in Defensive Player of the Year.
Yeah.
And we talked about it last week a little bit. They signed Devin White with maybe the intention of him being the guy with Kobe Dean and those guys.
Right.
They signed Zach Vaughn from New Orleans as a
depth,
as a backup plan, but he actually was plan A.
Yeah. That defensive fit, scheme and everything that Vic Fangio has going, absolute right call to sign back Vaughn. That was the one thing I was worried about. If he was to go to another team, could he produce in a different scheme, or was this a 1-year wonder? Man, when you go back and look, it looks legit. It looks like he knows where he's got to be. He's making the plays. He's not just in the right position. He's doing everything. Need him to rush the passer. He's running up on the line. He's doing that as well. My type guy. And I really didn't even give it a second thought. He was the right choice for me. Daryl hasn't moved in about 20 seconds. You all right over there? Did you freeze up on us? I think it's the Harold Landry News.
Nope, I'm here. Back. I know what happened. Stupid phone. pisses me off. But anyway, I was looking at something else and didn't realize my phone kind of timed out. But nope, I agree with you. Vaughn was for me the top IDP option. Both,
No brainer. Right.
yeah, no brainer. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about it 2 weeks in a row. So at number two, well, I won't say at number two, but your next player is Robert Spillane, linebacker, who played for the Las Vegas Raiders. And you know what? This is kind of crazy because I had him initially at 14.
14.
14
Holy
and free
hell.
agent.
What have you been smoking, man?
Well, you got to look at the free agent class. I mean, and we're going to talk about these guys.
This is for IDP.
Okay, so you're going to take him over Jamie and Sherwood, for example? I'm not.
Absolutely.
No way. I'm taking Jamie and Sherwood all day, every day over Spillane.
I'll tell you what, since Robert Spillane became a starter in Vegas, he has finished as an LB1 both years. He has 300 tackles over the last 2 years. His tackle numbers put him right there with Zach Bond. He has 5.5 sacks, 5 interceptions. I mean, he's doing it all, where Jamie Sherwood has just done tackles. He's just been a tackler so far. He's not giving me those extra plays. Robert Spillane, he has shown me that he can play every game. He's started every game, staying healthy. He's getting me tackles. He's getting me some bonus interceptions, sacks. He's giving me a little bit of everything. That's my only knock on Sherwood is he so far has just been a tackle guy. But I still have him fairly high too.
I get that, but CJ Mosley is probably done. So with that, so. Sherwood's going to take over there. Him and Quincy Williams. So
sure, but he's only given me 1 year so far.
He has, but what a 1 year was, right?
Zach Bond's only given me 1 year, but Zach Bond gave me everything. Robert Spillane has given me everything. Jamie and Sherwood is not. That's my separator on those.
I got you. I feel you. I'm with that. At number three, or your number three next on the list, I'm just going to keep saying next because, like I said, everything's changing. So your number three your next player was Bobby Wagner, and I had him at 7. I love this.
Yeah.
As we sit here today, he was re-signed by Washington for a 1 year, $9.5 million deal. Keeps him as the leader of the defense. And when I first was sitting down to do the free agent list, I was like, man, how is Washington going to let him go? Right? Because they have squat at linebacker.
Yeah, there's no depth there.
They have to keep him. I was like, how can they let him walk? And lo and behold, they re-signed him to a 1 year deal. Now I get it, right? He's no spring chicken. He's been around the block a time or 2 or 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
But my God, year after year after year, he has done nothing but tackle the damn football.
It's redraft, so age is somewhat out the window. It was probably the best fit for him to come back with Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn, he's known and played for, all the way back in Seattle back in the day. He was there this, past year. He's still got it. He's not that top elite guy anymore, but I mean his run defending grades, I think he's still the top linebacker. Fun fact, number 2 was Robert Spillane over the last 2 years. I think it's the right move. I do think Washington needs to draft a linebacker or maybe get Jack Sanborn, something like that. and have him learn under Wagner, and you still got Louvu there. But yeah, as far as a defensive leader and still a very solid fantasy producer, Bobby Wagner is it.
Yeah, so here's an oddity, and this is why I love having you on, talking to you, because I say it every week. You are a redraft guy primarily. I'm a dynasty guy. Bobby Wagner is probably way higher for you than he is me.
Yeah,
because of the age, because of the mileage on the tires. Perfect fit in Washington.
Yeah.
But for you, you had him at 3. I've got him at 7. And it's nothing he's doing wrong. Perfect fit in Washington, perfect player for Washington, super high production, proven winner, right? He has a Super Bowl, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I don't even care about the age per se. Well, I guess I do a little bit, but he's hit that point where he's the Tom Brady, right? He's a year to year guy. And in Dynasty, that's not what you want to hear. You don't want to hear year to year in Dynasty. Redraft, of course. Your world,
yeah,
you're eating this shit up. But for me in Dynasty, I'm like, ugh. When is the drop off officially coming? When is he falling off the cliff?
You can see it in his play and stats and everything. He is starting to go down for sure. But
yes, he is.
But he's still right there with the consistency and the scheme that they have for him and the team they're building. I would have no problem still taking him as, by LB2. Late LB1. I would feel a lot better as an LB2. But yeah.
And see, in Dynasty, I think I'm with you in Dynasty. If you have a solid group overall at linebacker, I'm okay with Wagner being your 1 for the year. If you have a solid group.
Sure.
But if he's your main guy, you're kind of screwed in Dynasty. You really are. You need him to come out the gate and have a hell of a first 2 or 3, 4 weeks. And then I'm probably trading him. I know that sounds crazy, but if you're playing the long game, you kind of have to, right?
I guess it depends on where you sit. If there's a contender that needs a linebacker and, he's still out there doing Bobby Wagner things, he still has the name. Yeah, you could probably flip him to somebody that, is desperate, is a contender, sees himself as a linebacker away. You could get decent value out of him, especially, was he 30? I think he'll be 35 this season. So probably not. I think him and Levante David are about the same. I think they're both in that 35. I don't think
age 34 right now.
34 now. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he still has a little bit of value in Dynasty.
I mean, you've got a player at age 34 who's coming off of 9 straight seasons of 130 plus tackles. 9 straight seasons of 130 plus tackles. Let that freaking sink in for a minute. It's insane. And in IDP, that's what you want, right? I mean, we talk about the extra, kind of like with Spillane, you talk about the extra with the interceptions, sacks, TFLs, whatever. But when you can give me 130 tackles for 9 straight seasons at 2 points per tackle for tackles, that's insane, dude. I mean, yeah, is the drop off coming? Yeah, we saw it with Brady, right? And I compare him to Brady for IDP. You know it's coming, but when is it coming? And if you haven't already, and you should have already, if you haven't, you better be preparing now because it's coming. And I love Bobby Wagner. I think he's a tackling machine. He's an IDP god. But You need to prepare. And while I love him in Washington, and I think that's the saving grace, right? He's in Washington where they don't have anybody else. As you mentioned, they need to draft somebody for him to groom.
Yeah.
I think it's the perfect situation. Had he left Washington, I think I would have dropped him down my rankings, especially in Dynasty. I would have dropped him.
It would depend on landing spot. You know, if he got behind, like if he ended up in behind a good solid line like Philadelphia or the Rams, you know, they got a good solid young line. If he ended up back there again, I don't think you could drop him too much, just because of the pressure that those guys can get and how well they're playing. They're going to keep him clean to be able to run up and get tackles too. So it just depends on, you know, who he's playing. Now, if he went to Tennessee, I'd say, yeah, just go ahead and cut him. But no, I don't see very many scenarios where Bobby Wagner couldn't produce at least LB2 numbers on any team out there. I really don't, even at his age.
Right. Let's see. So we'll move along. Coming up next, you've got Ernest Jones, which I agree with you, but I kind of disagree with you because
I get it.
I know, right? Talent-wise and past production, I think Ernest Jones is there. But the fact that he was traded twice to two teams that need freaking linebackers and they both traded him concerns me. That concerns me.
And he's looking to be a free agent again.
Exactly.
You know, to possibly be on his fourth team already. Even with switching teams, he had a career high in solo tackles. His overall tackles, he was only 7 tackles off the year before. He didn't have any sacks or nothing, no big turnovers, which he's not a huge turnover guy anyway. Just a solid tackler.
No, he's a straight tackle guy for the most part.
Yeah. A good solid tackler. That's just where I settled on putting him because like you say, there's got to be some reason nobody's wanting him, but at the same time, everybody wants him.
Yeah, and I don't know what that is, especially when you're Tennessee and you need a damn linebacker. What happened?
They're right. I guess they were just trying to rack up picks, maybe.
Maybe so. Which, in their defense, I will say this: they traded him away for more than they traded for him. So in that, they won.
That had to be what it was. It was just flip the
picks. Had to be.
There's no way they could look at their team and say, you know what, we're going to the playoffs, so we got to keep him.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. There's no way. So yeah, that had
you
to be.
Just didn't say Tennessee in playoffs in the same game.
Yeah, not anymore. So yeah, if he hits the right team, I think he's right back to being that, you know, because he was just the dynasty #1 guy, just last year, the year before. So
yeah, he was close. Yeah, he was top 3, 4 at least.
Yeah, I would really like to see him find the right home and just start popping off again. Again, we're looking for high tackles here. We're not anything else we get is a bonus. We're not expecting him to get sacks and interceptions like some of these other guys. That's why I knocked him down just a little, and I really just did not know where to put him. It just felt like the best spot I could do.
Right. Your next guy, when I first initially looked at your list, I was kind of shocked you had him this high because of age, because of mileage. But as of today, because today and yesterday things changed everything.
That's one reason he's as high as he is.
Right. Levante David re-signed with Tampa Bay for a 1-year, $10 million deal. And I love this because most likely that means he ends his career as a Tampa Bay Buck. He's played his whole career with them. Tackling machine, has gotten the sacks, has gotten the interceptions over the year. Over the years, he's been insane, right? I mean, he's been one of the best linebackers year in, year out. He is starting to decline, but 1,600 plus tackles, 1,100 plus solos in his career. And that's not even taking in the TFLs and sacks and interceptions and PBUs, just tackling them. Insane. Let me throw this. Here's the one thing that stuck out to me. Tampa Bay signed him for 1 year, $10 million. But as we just talked about, Washington signed Bobby Wagner for 1 year, 9.5. So technically, Levante David got more money for 1 year than Bobby Wagner. I'll ask you this. As an NFL team or as a fantasy owner, who would you trust more and pay more? Bobby Wagner, Levante David?
As an NFL
for 1 year,
team,
I know who I would take.
For an NFL team, I'm taking Levante David, and it's because of his coverage. You look at how good he is in coverage. It's what allows whoever's playing next to him, for the most part, to be able to run around and stop the run and kind of do that. He covers up a good bit across the middle, or has in the past. He is getting a little slower. Bobby Wagner, I don't think is on the same level as Levante David when it comes to coverage, which doesn't always translate into fantasy stats. But that's from an NFL stance. From a fantasy stance, for the most part, they're neck and neck. I think Bobby
I'll
Wagner
give you this.
Gives you more.
I will give you the Levante David is better in coverage. But man, Bobby Wagner is a freaking tackling machine, dude. I mean, he's insane what he's doing at his age as far as tackles go. So for me, I think you have to give me a lot outside of tackles, TFL, sacks, interceptions, PBUs, force, whatever that is. You have to give me quite a bit of a difference in those areas to make up for what Bobby Wagner's doing as just a straight tackle machine. Not that David is bad, but Wagner, for me, he's a lot better in that area.
Yeah, I agree with you. Fantasy-wise, you want Wagner because of the guaranteed tackles. Whereas NFL-wise, when you start looking at PFF grades, you start looking at more tape and all, Levante David, throughout his entire career, has been just fantastic in coverage. And in fact, he'll probably go down as one of the best coverage linebackers to ever play. But again, that doesn't always translate into fantasy stats. That's why fantasy-wise, Wagner's the guy. They're the same age, probably came in the NFL the same year, if I'm not mistaken. Just pretty close. They're both 35-ish around that time. That's why I got Bobby Wagner ranked higher than David. It's not by a lot, but again, Levante David, I didn't know for sure where I was going to put him. We were getting kind of close to the free agency kicking off. If he was going to leave and go to another team, it would hurt me personally just because I do like the longevity there. But I do think I would have had him a good bit lower if he went somewhere else. But stayed with Todd Bowles.
Glad you said that because I completely agree. If he leaves Tampa Bay, I think his value drops a lot.
His drops more than Wagner's does from an IDP perspective.
Yes. Dynasty, it drops a lot. 1 year, I think it drops a lot if he doesn't stay in Tampa. The fact that he stayed in Tampa, I think it keeps it a little closer, right?
Well, he's playing behind what I consider a pretty decent line. You got Kalijah Cansey and Vita Vea right in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so they do a good job keeping him clean. And then again, like I say, NFL wise, pass coverage, he's the better player. IDP wise, Bobby Wagner's the better player. And that's why I have him ranked the way I do. But I don't fault anybody for dropping him low. That every year, Levante David is pretty much one of the biggest value picks year in, year out, in IDP, in redraft. He's always overlooked. So you can get this guy cheap just about every year. That's one of my favorite things about him. Bobby Wagner, you're paying retail every year. Levante David, you're not. You can get him as your third, fourth linebacker. Probably not fourth, but third linebacker, right. And he's going to give you, high end LB2 numbers every year.
And how crazy is it that he survived the Devin White era? Because Devin White in Tampa Bay was a freaking monster for a few years.
Yeah, well, it was Quan Alexander before that. I mean, he's made these other guys look really good. Look how good he made Devin White look. That's a big difference.
Yes, and I love that he's staying in Tampa Bay. I think this could potentially mean he retires. Now it depends if he wants to go somewhere else.
I thought he would retire this year. I really did.
I did too. Yeah.
But again, Tampa Bay has no depth at linebacker.
Oh my God, they're horrible. They're horrible.
Yeah. You lose David, you have absolutely nothing. At least Washington had Frankie Louvu to fall back on, I guess.
Right. So next you've got Nick Bolton from Kansas City, linebacker. We're actually pretty close. You had him 6. I have him 4. He's got 3 straight. Not 3 straight, but he has 3 100-plus tackle seasons in his 4 seasons. This is kind of weird for me. Is he elite? And when I say elite, is he top 10 fantasy, top 10 NFL linebacker? I don't think so. I think he's in the top 14 for both. But, man,
I'm with you.
What does Kansas City have behind him?
Yeah. So just a couple of years ago, Nick Bolton was Dynasty's top linebacker, and everybody tried to put him in the even in the redrafts. They were putting him ahead of Roquan and Foyer, which I was against because Roquan and Foyer had done something Nick Bolton hadn't. Number one, they'd been elite for multiple years and on multiple teams. And basically, we've seen Nick Bolton blow up for 1 year where he had 180 combined tackles, couple sacks, couple interceptions, forced fumble, nothing too elaborate outside of the tackles. Since then, 60, which that was an injury year. He only played half the season. And then last year, 106 tackles. I mean, that doesn't sound like Robert Spillane. That doesn't sound like Ernest Jones, Levante David. He's still riding his name to an extent, but we haven't seen him hit those elite numbers again. So I'm with you. I don't know if he ever will.
Yeah, I don't know if he ever will either, but he's in a perfect situation in Kansas City. And for them to, and maybe it's just a money thing, right, with the contract, because he's played 4 years. Maybe they didn't want to pay the 5th year or whatever. I have to think somebody, Titans again, I'll mention it. Maybe they won't, but a team like the Titans that needs a linebacker, you have to think the value for him in free agency is there, I would think.
He's a 2-time Super Bowl champion, so it's not like would he have to go to a contender, or is it about money? So if we're looking for an overpay here, then it could be somebody like the Titans or Panthers even. But if he wants to go to a contender that's not Kansas City, then you're looking at the Rams, maybe Dallas.
And what a weird situation, because you just mentioned, I hate to interrupt you, but you just mentioned he's already won two they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, right? He's still on a rookie deal, or was on a rookie deal. He's already won 2 Super Bowls, so he's already reached the pinnacle of an NFL player. Is this about money now that he wants to get paid? I could see that.
I would think so. He's been on that rookie deal where, he's not making, 10 million, 15 million a year, whatever he wants. I think he goes for the money. I really do. And teams with a lot of money, again, Titans, Dallas, not so much.
I don't know. Dallas could use him. They restructured.
They could use him. I just don't know money-wise if they could pull it off.
Well, they restructured Dak. They restructured CD, so they've got some cap room.
You got to make Parsons happy before you can go bringing in somebody else. That's where I'm
at. How happy is Parsons going to be if they keep losing?
That's another owner causing problems.
right. Man, you've got Jamie Sherwood. We touched on him a minute ago. You've got him at 7 per se. I know our list is not exact since the last couple of days, but I had him at number 3. 150 tackles and 98 freaking solos. He led the NFL in solo tackles. 98 damn solos. Let that sink in. Because in IDP fantasy, you're usually getting 2 points or
say 2 to 1.
You're getting 2 to 1, so the value is there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's a lot to overcome.
When I was doing my list and I had Sherwood high, I started really digging into Robert Spillane. I like where I got him at 2. And looking at him compared to the other guys, he's not giving me any other stats. I'm not getting 5 sacks. I'm not getting a few interceptions or a bunch of forced fumbles either. The tackles are there, though, for sure. I think he's but I want to see it again also.
True, and that's my point. So last year was his 4th year, right?
Yes.
So as a rookie, he played 5 games, started 4.
Which I believe he was injured.
Next year, he played 17 games, started 0. The next year, he played 17, only started 3. This past season, 17 played, 16 starts. And a lot of that had to do with C.J. Mosley being hurt. But he showed you in a small sample, he can be that guy. Now, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's 1 year, small sample. I need to see it again. But with Mosley likely being gone,
for sure,
and the Jets being bad, the Jets are going to be bad this
year. Oh, yeah.
I'm eating this up with Jamie and Sherwood. I really am.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. And if I am, I'll come back and say, hey, I'm a liar. I suck ass at this. But
I don't hate him at 3rd. I really don't. I just got nitpicking. And, I just started knocking him just for, like I said, not knowing if he can do it again. And he was stuck on the bench there for a while, which I think his rookie season he was injured. So he ended up missing most of that. But he got to learn behind C.J. Mosley and Quincy Williams. So when he did get the opportunity, he really ran with it, which gives me hope for Jack Sanborn later on. That baby, he was just a really good player stuck behind some great players, I guess. That maybe he could pop off similarly the way Sherwood has. So that's somebody I'm keeping an eye on as well. But yeah, I don't hate Sherwood at 3. But,
and I get it. I get your concerns. He's only done it 1 year. There's
right.
that is some legit stuff there.
Yeah.
Let's
Flex,
see. Next,
fantastic season. If the Jets can keep him, that'd be one of their best bets.
I think they have to, right? With CJ Mosley being gone.
You would think they would, but I, I can't predict this season. The way I'm seeing trades and releases here the last 3 days, I have no idea.
Very true.
It would be smart to keep him.
It would be. Up next, you've got. Oh, why do you continue to upset me? We kind of touched on him earlier. Harold Landry.
You don't even have him on the list, do you?
Actually, I do. I have him in my.
Do you?
I have him on my list. It's not important where it's at, but I don't have him as high as you. And here's why. Because what did I say at the beginning of the show and last week? This edge group is so deep. The draft class, the free agents, the trades being demanded. Landry's not a top guy. I'm sorry. He's been very serviceable for the Titans, has been a mainstay. For the most part, he's been healthy. He's been productive. But he's not a Myles Garrett. He's not a Trey Hendrickson. He's not a Max Crosby. He's not a Micah Parsons. He's not.
Sure. But
at best, he's a edge 2 for me, a DN 2. He really is. I think because his numbers warrant that. I mean, he's never been above 15 sacks. His one thing that you mentioned earlier, he does get a lot of tackles. He's around that 70-plus mark, which is something that defensive ends don't do a lot of. You don't see defensive ends that give you a lot of 70 tackle, 10 sack seasons. So with that, I think there's some value there because of the tackles, but there's the potential for a huge drop now. Tennessee's bad and going to be bad again next year. So if he goes, now that he's a free agent and he goes to a team that's better, will he have the same type of production with better talent? Or does he, maybe his sacks go up 2 or 3, but his tackle numbers, I think, have got to take a hit probably.
Yeah, depending on where he goes. You know, we mentioned the elite guys. None of them are free agents. So I look at the other edge rushers that are free agents right now, and I think he's the top guy out of the group that's there. Sure, he's not elite, but I'm not taking any of these other guys over him. They haven't matched his stats at all. He's done this with different defensive coordinators, different coaches. So I see the consistency there that as long as he stays in that 3-4 alignment where, you know, he's not just handing the dirt all day, where he is allowed to be, you know, the edge rusher, dropping the coverage a little bit and whatnot, I think his production stays the same. I have no problem taking him over a lot of these other guys because of that consistency that he's shown.
And you're right, consistency. So he's played 6 years, has been in the league for 7. He was hurt for a year, torn ACL.
Yeah.
So starting with his rookie year, he had 44 tackles, 68, 69, 75, 70, 71. You don't get more consistent than that.
I love
that.
That good.
Yeah, I love that. But when you transition to the sack category, 4.5, 9, 5.5, 12, 10.5, 9. The sack numbers are not elite. They're not even tier 2. I think his sack numbers are tier 3. Now, here's something that I will post to you. What if he was to go to Dallas to pair up with Parsons? I think his value shoots way up there. Because DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be gone. They need help on the defensive line. I'm sure it all revolves around what kind of asking price he's for. But if Dallas could get Landry to pair with Parsons, I like that.
Sure.
And I think for his value to hold steady or increase IDP wise, you need him to go to a place that's really, really bad like Tennessee, or he has to go somewhere that has a superstar like Parsons. If he goes anywhere else, I think his value drops for me.
I don't like I say with his consistency and the different coordinators and coaches he's already played through. I think he's already solid enough. Now, if you put him next to one of these elite guys, yeah, then we're looking at Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson part 2. You know, we're seeing that combo really pick up.
Very true. Very true.
Again, he's not that hand in the dirt, line up on the line, and just go after it.
No, he's more of the outside linebacker stand-up
guy. Yep. So he would look better in, say, a Minnesota scheme or a Miami scheme or, you know, something like that where you got him and Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb, you know, something like that where I can kind of rotate these 3 guys. Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, but Miami's got Chop Robinson, though.
Right. I don't know if Bradley Chubb's going to play, how much, how good he's going to be. I don't know about Jalen Phillips. You know what I mean? Like, so there's a need there. I was just using that scheme where they rush those guys in more of a stand-up position and allow them to drop back and play the run and play in the coverage more, you know, where you are more of the traditional 3-4 outside linebacker instead of just a hand in the dirt defensive end. So if he gets in the right scheme, yeah, I don't see it being that big of a drop off, that big of a problem.
Cool. Up next you have, man, me and you're going to argue. Well, I don't think we're going to argue, but I think our values are way off. So up next you got Kazir White, linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals the past 2 seasons. I've just never been a fan of him, and he's had some really good seasons.
I get it.
And if you ask me why, I don't know why I could tell you why.
It's not sexy. That's it.
It's got to be, right?
It's not. He's not Bobby Wagner. You know, he's not Levante David. He's not Fred Warner. You know, he's not. He's none of these. He's just kind of a guy. I don't think. He's kind of a guy, but he's a little bit more than just a guy. Slightly more than just a guy is where I see him. His tackles are there. He gets a little bit of sacks, interceptions, not a lot. When I look at all the linebackers that are just a guy, he's at the top of those just a guys. You know what I mean? The other guys I got ranked below him, I really don't.
Kazir White or Nick Bolton?
Slightly Nick Bolton because of the big play potential. I think his big play potential is a little better, and he's probably a faster, better guy than White. But if you look at the numbers, it's not by a lot.
It's not, and he's age 28. He won't. He'll turn 29 in a few days. So, by the end of the month, he'll turn 29.
So
with that in mind, would you rather have a Kazir White or, because you're redraft, I think I know where you're going to lean, Kazir White or Wagner or David? I think you're going to go both of them over him, right?
Yeah, for sure. Kazir White, ideally, he would be my LB 3 or 4.
See, in Dynasty, I think
he's
takes
fantastic.
a hit.
Yeah.
He doesn't take a hit, but I think he gets a boost because of the age, I think.
Yeah. Dynasty, he's just not a sexy name. Like, he doesn't do anything over the top,
right.
You know.
And I hate that because I don't know. I honestly can't tell you why I don't like him. I just know that I don't like him, right?
He's just a guy, man. But I feel like he's one of the better, just a guys, a better Jag.
Right.
Yeah, I look at the other guys I got listed behind him. He's proven he can do it. Where these guys, I have a lot of questions about.
Right. So next up, you've got. Ooh, I was actually kind of shocked to see him this high, and I'm not hating it. I'm not hating it because I'm not too awful far off from you. But next up, you've got Jeremy Chin, who has played 5 years in the league, played 4 years with Carolina. His first 2 years, he was a world beater, right? I mean, he did everything NFL wise and IDP wise that you could ask for.
Right.
Then he had 2 seasons that just kind of, eh. Now, in his defense, he only played
Coaching.
23 out of 34 games, so he missed some time. But even in those games that he played, he was kind of, right? Then he comes back to Washington last year, or he goes to Washington last year and has what I think was a huge bounce back season. And he tied a career high in tackles with 117. Mm-hmm. He was 2 away from tying a career high in solo tackles with 73. Career high in TFLs was 7. Career high in sacks with 2. I mean, he had the 5 PBUs. I'm not hating it, and I think he was a great fit in Washington. Him and Wagner, I think, linebacker, safety, second level, third level duo. I think they paired well together, especially with what Washington's wanting to do, right?
Yeah.
Wagner's a veteran. Chin is experienced. He's not a veteran, but I'll say he's experienced. And with the lack of talent and depth that Washington had, I think those two complemented each other extremely well, especially with that front four. If Washington kind of has to re-sign him, right?
I thought it was a really good fit. This year showed us, or this past year, like you said, reading off the stats, it pretty much matched his first 2 years. I mean, so 3 of his 5 years have been pretty consistent. There were some weird scheme changes, coaching changes, injuries in between that. So seeing him be able to do this with, different teams and everything, when used correctly, he's shown to be pretty consistent, to be a really solid contributor. And I hate ranking defensive backs of any kind or trying to put them in a list. I feel like he is one of the more consistent, has shown the most, I guess consistency is the biggest thing I got going for him there, that he can do it at that level again, whereas these other guys pop up for a year and we never see them again. They just kind of ride the name for a couple of seasons. I feel like Chin, he showed he can get back to that level. I just don't know if he could do it on any team. Like you say, I do think his best fit is there in Washington again. And if not, then maybe somebody else can get him in the right position. That was a problem there in Carolina there for a couple of years where they just could not figure out how to use him. And it's not like they were overrun with talent that they couldn't just throw him in as a linebacker. I think we were all screaming for it. So he's shown to be able to play a few different positions there too. So I really like his versatility.
He excelled in that hybrid position, right? That safety linebacker, defensive nickel, back hybrid.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see where he goes or if they resign him. I like his value a lot better in Dynasty if Washington resigns.
Bro, I get that completely. When it comes to safeties and corners and everything, even in Dynasty, it's a crapshoot for the most part. We got guys that we expect to be in the top, and you can put them in damn near any order, and nobody can really argue against it. It's that inconsistent. But I like him and his consistency from what he has shown out of the 5 years better than what some of these other linebackers and some of these edge rushers have shown. I would take him over some of these other guys for sure.
Awesome. Up next, you've got Cameron Bynum, safety for Minnesota. I really don't know what to do with him, really. I mean,
there's a lot of uncertainty here.
There is. I mean, if you go back to 2023, 137 tackles, 94 solos, 2 interceptions, 9 pass deflections, 3 forced fumbles. Huge year, right? And that's playing alongside. Yeah, that's his peak, and he's playing alongside
Harrison Smith, Josh Metellus.
Yes. So the big. How many for the past few years have you heard this? The big nickel 3 safety set. Chargers, Titans. A lot of teams did this. They run with the 3 safety. A lot of times because they were deficient at linebacker. But I digress. So last year, 96 tackles, 54 solos, career high 3 interceptions, career high 10 PBUs. But the tackle decrease concerns me. Now, I know Harrison Smith is on that verge of retiring. Does he want to go somewhere else, free agent? And I didn't put him on my list because I think there's too many uncertainties there. He could go back to Minnesota, but I almost – and I hate to say this, and if I'm wrong, I'll eat my words, but I almost feel like Bonham was a 1-year wonder in a way. Do you feel that way?
Yeah.
Or you take a shot on him?
So I think that was his peak, the 137 tackle year. But he had 2 years, but the 2 years, or the year before that and the year after that, we're looking at 80 and 90 tackles, still 2-3 interceptions both those years. So he has shown some consistency with that peak, whereas, we talk about safeties and corners being so volatile, up and down, depending on just how they're used. I do have concerns that he is a product of Brian Flores' schemes and not just a full-on playmaker in his own right. So I do have some reservations there, but again, with the inconsistency we see at safety and everything, he could very well just pop right back up there. But he has shown to be able to get 80 tackles on multiple years. I like that. He does offer some big play as well. So depending on what team he goes to, he could either go up my list or he could drop way down low. Like I say, I
over under, regardless of dynasty redraft, whatever you're doing. Over and under 90 plus tackles this season.
90 plus. Man, I feel like that's
over under 90. We'll set it at 90. Over under.
Yeah, 90. I think that's a perfect number. I'll say slightly under.
Ooh.
Slightly
I think I'm with you. I think I'm with you. I really do. I think I'm with you on that.
But those for a safety are not bad numbers.
They're not, but I think if you're a Bonham owner, for me, in my opinion, if you own Bonham, I think I'm trying to sell him. In Dynasty. Yeah. Now, maybe you feel different redraft, but in Dynasty, I think I'm trying to move him.
No, anytime I can get rid of a safety in Dynasty for anything, I feel like I've won. Because I can go right back to the waiver next season and probably find 2 nobodies we've never thought about, and they're going to pop off for 100 tackles. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
if I could trade a safety away and get, a third round pick or fourth round, whatever, I'm probably going to do it.
Okay, so let me ask you this. I'm intrigued by I'm intrigued by everything you say because you're a redraft guy compared to me being dynasty. If I'll just leave it vague. If I gave you a fourth for Bynum, what do you do?
Am I going to take it? Yeah, I'm going to take it.
If I give you a fifth?
A fifth? There's a good chance I'll take that because I can just about bank on either a rookie or free agent sitting out there that is going to give me, if not great, if not the same numbers, they're going to be fairly close. How many?
See, that tells me what I feel, right? So
Yeah.
I'm not very high on him, and I'm willing to sell him. But the fact in a redraft that you wouldn't take a fifth, that you would sell him for a fifth.
Yeah, that's how I see defensive backs. I don't see
Right.
them as now. There's a couple you could argue. I don't. Me and you had this very conversation a few years ago when
I can't
when
remember that far back. God dang it.
Yeah, it was Jalen Petrie after his rookie season. We were talking.
I do remember this.
And I said, sell him. His value is never going to be higher. And you called me crazy.
I did.
What's he done since, man? That's defensive backs. I said, sell him.
He done.
I'll sell him now. He's not going to hit that number again, even if, those were stupid high numbers.
They were insane high numbers.
I'm not holding on to a defensive back because I can always find, even if it's for a couple weeks, I can find that Daryl Worley that'll float me for a couple weeks. You know what I mean? That Kayvon Wallace.
And it just hit me. Sorry, I hate to interrupt you, but sometimes people say stuff and it triggers me. It almost sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, it almost sounds like you are treating the safety position because of the quality, because of the depth,
right,
the scoring and whatever. It almost sounds like you're treating the safety position like Orange Man, Johnny the Greek, treats corners.
You got to. If you're getting anything back for somebody you picked up off the waiver, nobody had Bonham. Nobody drafted Bonham. He was somebody you picked up off the waivers one year. You know what I mean? And then turned into something. So you're going to flip him for a fourth or a fifth. Maybe you draft another safety that does the same thing. Yeah.
But and I'm going down one of these lonely dirt roads here, sidetrack squirrel moment. That's intriguing to me, considering that overall, in the general eyes of IDP players, defensive lineman / edge, linebacker, safety is your big three. But you're you're telling me that safety is closer to corner than it is to the other two.
It's closer
Most
to
people
corner.
think linebacker safety. You're telling me that safety is closer to corner than it is linebacker.
Because of the way true position has changed and the NFL itself has changed. There used to be, more abundance in some of these other positions, and with the NFL has switched to more of that big nickel to just nickel in general. It's now overflowing with safeties and corners.
That's kind of crazy to me, because I don't. If you'd asked me this 3 years ago, I don't think anybody would agree with you that safety is closer to corner than they are linebacker. Nobody would agree with you.
So 5-10 years ago, we were base 4-3, base 3-4, where we had lots of linebackers.
True.
Edge rushers were of short supply, and we were looking at strong safeties and free safeties. Now we're down to a lot of teams only running one linebacker, two linebackers. And even that second guy is not always on the field. And we've changed the true position in the fantasy department. So we've taken even more linebackers away. So linebackers still your top dogs. All right. And now, because of teams running so much more, like I said, the big nickel, the nickel in general, and we're not seeing just clear cut, strong safety, free safety anymore. Some weeks they swap, or, it's almost a left safety and a right safety instead of a deep and up near the line of scrimmage. So I don't see, there's not that many just elite guys. It's basically just a pool of players now that I'm kind of playing the matchups to an extent. So in redraft, when I'm drafting, I'm hammering linebacker because they are of short supply for the good guys. I'm taking my defensive line. I want a top edge rusher. I want an elite guy. Then I'm looking for my Sam Hubbard guy. Also there's only a handful of defensive tackles that are worth drafting. Some people are good at streaming them. I am not one of them. So I'm looking for DeForest Buckner, Kobe Turner, somebody like that. I want to grab one of those guys. So I'm pushing safety back. I keep pushing safety back now. And I'm not going to get Antoine Winfield or somebody like that because they're going to go higher than I want to give up for them because I see the value somewhere else. So I'll take Cameron Bynum towards the end of my draft if he's still there. You know what I mean? But looking at the other free agents, he looked like the most one of the most consistent guys that showed enough potential to give me more than just consistency, that he could give me a little more bonus there.
Wow, I love it. That may be one of our most interesting discussions of the night. That's really intriguing. Up next, you've got Dre Greenlaw. So only played 2 games last year.
Yeah,
unfortunately got hurt. But the 2 seasons prior, 30 games played, 247 tackles, 157 solos. Basically, that's all he's giving you. He's a high volume tackler with a lot of solos. Anything else you're getting is extra.
Yeah.
Coming off the injury,
I'm scared about this.
How do you value him? And does the fact that he's playing or was playing next to Fred Warner, how does that affect his value? And also the 49ers have said that they would like to re-sign him. So,
yeah.
A, if they re-sign him, how does that affect your value? B, if they don't, where do you put him? Because I feel like if he stays in San Francisco, the value is high. If he leaves, I think it drops, right? Am I wrong?
So, he tore his Achilles in playoffs, missed most of the year. I really don't know why San Francisco put him in this year instead of just letting him sit the entire year. Came in, he was a bat out of hell that first half of that game. He was everywhere, eating up every play.
It was that first quarter. He was like a heat-seeking freaking missile, dude.
Everywhere. And then he kind of, I don't know if he fully re-injured himself, but there was definitely an issue. I am a bit worried about that because the Niners were not in playoff contention. They had no reason to really bring him in whatsoever. The injury itself was just a crazy mishap, just trying to run in from the sideline. He just got that jacked up and took off weird and blew his Achilles. So I don't feel like he's a bit reckless, I guess, and I don't feel like San Francisco did enough to help protect him against himself. How's he going to look? I have no idea. I haven't seen him not play against or beside Fred Warner. I don't know if he can go out and just be a top guy on a team. If he did go somewhere else, maybe Houston with D'Amico Ryans might keep him at a high value. outside of that, I have a hard time trusting anything until I see it with him, because it's not like he was, giving us 150 tackles anyway. Like 120, I think, which isn't a bad tackle number at all. It's just he's not up there near the top dogs at all. You know what I mean? Like, so he's definitely a few tiers behind, and I'm a bit concerned with how the injury is going and what he would look like not playing next to one of the best linebackers in the league. I don't know. I don't trust him enough just to say, yeah, he's going to the Titans. He's going to be an LB1 right off the bat. We haven't seen him do anything like that. So I don't trust it, but I do think his talent's good enough that if he does land somewhere like Houston with D'Amico Ryans, be reunited with him, playing next to Al-Shaair, I think he could put up pretty similar numbers that he does with Fred Warner.
Cool. Next player, super intriguing to me. EJ Speed, linebacker of the Colts. I love this guy. I've had him on my roster from the get-go, kind of early last 2 years, maybe 3. And this all kind of stemmed from the Shaq Leonard downfall, right? Man, he has been, if you go back to 2023, and that's kind of really where Leonard disappeared, right? That was the final straw. So Speed had 102 tackles, 78 solos. Last year, Leonard's completely out of the picture. 142 tackles, 93 solos. Doesn't give you a lot of extra, which is a thing.
That's why I knocked him.
As an LB3, I'm not going to put him as 1 because Zaire Franklin was there. I'm not going to put him as a 2 because I just don't think he's in that 2. As an LB3, I love him as an LB3. I love him as an LB3 in Indianapolis.
Yes. If he goes somewhere else, he hasn't shown enough. He's going to be 30.
He's going to be 30, yes.
We haven't seen him just...
I think the talent is there. I think he's in the past 2 years, right? Maybe not the first 4, because of course Leonard was there in the way, roadblock, whatever. But I think in the last 2, he's shown enough to be. I think the potential's there, but man, I think moving from Indianapolis to said wherever,
right? If
it's a Tennessee or something like that, I could hold value. But if he goes to a good team with a good linebacker, he's going to drop, right?
Yeah. Another thing about this past season was just how many snaps the Colts played. I mean, it was ridiculous. They were playing 80-snap games there for a while. So that's a bit inflated as well.
The fact that they finished above Tennessee is just fucking ridiculous. Jesus Christ.
I wasn't going to bring that up.
Insane.
So,
why you got to rip that Band-Aid off, John?
That was all on me, I think. We haven't seen much out of him other than just being a tackle guy. Like I said,
are you selling today? Are you selling or buying on?
I sold him last year in the listener league. During the draft, I think is when I got rid of him. But I see him as just a guy. I don't see anything special. I don't. He has about a 10 or 12% missed tackle rate, which I don't like. I just
because of the age,
and the age worries me as well.
Okay, let me throw this at you. Because of the age, EJ Speed, Bobby Wagner, Levante David.
Oh, it's easy. The other two have shown me what they can do. They've been elite. You know what I mean? Where he sat around on the bench for a while. It took injury, and then they're like,
And
let's see what we got, and they got just a guy.
Right, and I think even in Dynasty, which is my realm, right?
Sure.
Even in Dynasty, where age is a huge factor in Dynasty.
Yeah.
I think Wagner and David is, I hate to say it, but I think they're way ahead of him. I think.
Where do you put EJ Speed compared to Kaiser White?
Oh, great fucking
See
question.
what I'm saying? They're both just kind of a guy, but White has shown me with the Chargers, with the Eagles, with the Cardinals that he can kind of produce a little bit everywhere, where I've just seen Speed kind of produce a year and a half, 2 years at most. It's not much difference there, is there?
I think there is. I think I take Speed.
Do you? Well,
I think so. Well, it depends on where he lands, right? I mean, if we're basing it on what we've seen in the past with the team, I'm taking Speed in Indianapolis over Kaiser White. Just my opinion.
Right.
It's a personal.
Looking at these two guys from an NFL perspective, one of them has shown me he can be the main guy, the green dot guy, and the other has shown me he is the Robin to someone else's Batman.
Yeah, but what a hell of a Robin that was last year. 142 tackles and 93 solos as a Robin. Are you kidding me?
I think it was inflated by a really bad team playing a shit ton of snaps.
It was. So, I agree.
So depending on what team he goes to.
Put up those numbers as a Robin is pretty damn impressive, dude.
Yeah. Well, Batman was number one, so that's just how many snaps they had to play on defense. That's just how bad the Colts were.
See, that goes back to my whole thing with Kaiser White. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I am. I'm just not a Kaiser White fan. I would take EJ Speed. If I'm in a draft, screw it. If I'm in a redraft league and we're kind of set at linebacker, if I have my 1-2 linebacker set and I'm looking for my third linebacker and EJ Speed and Kaiser White's there, I'm probably taking Speed.
Yeah,
just
I'm going to take White, just because I see him as an actual number one guy on a team. And Speed is not. He's not a number one guy. Kaiser White has shown he could be the number one guy. Now, their stats aren't that much different, but
our fans are going to love this. I'm going to disagree. I take Speed right here. Now, 2025, where are both of them at because of free agents? I don't know. But if I'm going on history and gut
feel, future Titans, baby.
You put Speed in Tennessee, I'm taking him all day over White. All day.
Yeah, but if he's playing next to Kaiser White in Tennessee,
I'm still taking him because I'm still taking him.
Tennessee is one of those teams that no matter who's playing linebacker, they're going to produce.
right. Exactly. Man, that was a good one right there. Let's say next up you got Josh Sweat. Boy, do I like this because
I struggled with where to rank him next to linebackers because
I did too. Because based on production for career for year, based on position, outside linebacker versus linebacker, whatever. On the surface, I'm kind of out on Sweat.
Now, I think he's going to be overdrafted.
Yes, because what he did in the Super Bowl shot him through the moon. And I am selling this motherfucker for everything and anything I can get.
Yes.
Give me a 12-pack of beer. He's yours.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm wrong.
That's going to be on everybody's mind. He's a solid edge 2 on your team, maybe. But
No, 3 at best
taking
for me.
3?
3 at best. Harold Landry makes him look like a choir boy.
Yeah. See, Landry's like one of the best 2s out there.
Yes.
He's the epitome of a 2. He's like a
But based what happened in the Super Bowl, Josh Sweat is going to, like you said, be overdrafted, and he's going to be looked at better than Landry. And that's insane. That's just dumbass thinking.
He's going to be drafted ahead of Landry because he's going to get a fat contract from somebody in the NFL, and they're going to – and I'm going to love it because I'm going to get Landry now for nothing.
Listen to this. Listen to this. Let me get my paper here. Hold on. So, Harold Landry has been in the league for 7 seasons, only played 6 because he missed a season with the ACL. But anyway, 7 seasons, 50 and a half sacks. Had 2 seasons of 10 plus sacks.
A couple 9s. Yeah.
Josh Sweat has played 7 seasons. A full 7 seasons.
Right.
Has 43 sacks, which is 7 less, 7.5 less, and only has 1 season of over 10.
To be fair, he was playing behind, Derek Barnett, Brandon Graham, and all that too. So he was a bit of a rotational guy there for probably the first
Harold
3
Landry
4.
has
Sure.
Harold Landry has 3 seasons of 70 plus tackles. Josh Sweat has 4 seasons of 40 plus tackles. He's never crossed 50.
Yeah. I got him behind Landry.
Josh Sweat is an immediate sell. Whatever you can get for Josh Sweat today, you take. Absolutely take it.
Yeah, you trade for whatever and Jalex Hunt if you can get him.
Yes. I bet you right now you could trade Josh Sweat for Harold Landry and Jalex Hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Right now.
I think I actually have.
And I'd take that deal.
I have Landry and Sweat in the listener league together.
You suck. Quit bragging.
I also have Myles Garrett.
Really? That's going to be 2 months before you get your ring now.
I'll win me another one by the time you mail me that one.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, the reason I said that is Josh Sweat sits on my bench behind Myles Garrett and Harold Landry.
I mean, I think Josh Sweat's going to be one of the most overrated.
I do too.
I really do. Value-wise, I think he's going to be one of the most overrated.
I think so too. But compared to the rest of the free agents out there, there's not much. The actual free agent edge rushers.
Oh, bullshit. As an edge rusher in this get the fuck out of here.
Free
what
agents,
are you
man. Free agents.
Okay. We've just talked about
Harold Landry. I got him higher.
Okay, Harold Landry. Let me put my list.
Chase Young.
Hassan Reddick's out there. We've not mentioned.
For good reason. Actually, I had him on my list and I took him off. Malcolm Kuntz is a guy I had on the list and took off as well.
Malcolm Kuntz is up there. Khalil Mack's still out there.
I got him coming up.
Joey Bosa's out there.
Yep. Lawrence Judon.
Yeah, I mean, and then you got to consider the draft. I mean,
well,
frick.
Yeah, just free agency.
Josh Sweat, I'm out on him. Give me anything to draft pick wise, and I'll take it right now. I don't give a fuck what it is. Give me an 8th round pick, rookie draft. I'll take it.
So You taking Kazir White over Josh Sweat?
Yes. Yes.
Finally, I
Yes,
got
I
you to
would.
take White. Here we go.
Yes, I would. Because the
Yeah.
tackle value for White is way higher than anything that Sweat's going to do. Yes. Yes, I would. Would you not?
What if Sweat plays next to Micah Parsons?
Still.
You don't
Still
trust
taking.
him to pop off? If he goes
I'll
next
still
to,
take.
to an elite guy, do you think he would jump up his sacks to double digits?
Sweat?
Yeah. Or are you just out completely on the dude? I don't know
Value-wise,
what
I
I'm
think
trying
I'm
to think of.
completely out value-wise because
Okay.
I think you can. I think the value you can get someone to overpay for him more than you can whoever.
Yeah,
I
sure.
would trade. I would trade Sweat for the overpay and then come back and trade for Landry
Yeah.
because I'm still going to come out ahead. And that's in a redirect. In Dynasty, I'm still taking it.
What
I
if he
just
goes to the
think the
Titans?
overpay for coming off of what Sweat did in the Super Bowl, people are just going to be freaking stupid with, oh
Oh
my
yeah. I
God,
mean,
he's the next guy. And they're not going to look at the past. They're not going to look at the situation, whatever. And they will overpay stupidly for Sweat.
I hope so. I really do. That's going to give me so much. That's going to give me so much value this year.
I know, right?
We're here
Eric
to warn
Kendricks.
y'all not to do it.
Yes. Unless you're trading with me and then do it. Please do it.
Yeah. Then I was drunk. I didn't know what I was talking about. Make the trade.
Yeah, I'm talking out of my head. I'm stupid. I've had too many Budweisers.
Yeah. Get it while it's hot.
Eric Kendricks. Intriguing to me, Eric Kendricks.
So this one I struggled with. I wanted to
Has
put him
played
higher.
10 years in the league, has had 9 consecutive 100 tackle seasons. His rookie year, he had 92. So basically, 100 tackles every year. Has gotten, for the most, last year, he's coming off arguably his second
One of his
best
best.
season. 138 tackles, 3 sacks, 4
Yeah.
TFLs, 2 interceptions. I mean, for a team that needs linebacker help, right? Dallas.
I just wasn't sure where to put this guy. I thought about putting him
LB3?
higher up there. Well, like I said, I thought about putting him up there with Levante David and Nick Bolton and all that, but I just, for whatever reason, if he goes, I don't, depending on what team he goes to, and I do have some injury concerns with him. I feel like he's gonna, when he drops off, I think it's going to be a lot steeper of a drop than David, Wagner, Demario David, whoever. I think it's just going to be a hard crash this year. I really can't give a great reason why.
Right. I'm with you. I kind of feel the same way. So I'm with you. Boy, we are way off on this one. Khalil Mack.
You got him lower?
No. I had him as
How high
number
do you
2.
have? Number 2.
Yes, because pass rushers are at a premium. There was they already released Joey Bosa. There was a lot of talk between Harbaugh and the GM that they wanted to sign Mack again. They wanted to re-sign him, right? There's a fit there. Him with Tui Tuilapo. I think that's a great combo. His 3 seasons in Los Angeles, 8 17-6, right? I mean, he's kind of been hit or miss the last few years, but he's 2 years removed from a 17 sack season, which is a career high.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. He's had 470 tackle seasons for a defensive end. That's high. 21 TFLs, which was the second best of his career. 22 quarterback hits a couple of years ago gives him the fourth season of that total. I mean, he's produced wherever he's been. Now I know he's had some up and down years. He was kind of injured that one year in Chicago, but man, when you think elite pass rushers, I think Mac has to be at the top. He's done it solo from his time in Oakland and Chicago, and he's done it with a opposite pass rusher, Joey Bosa, opposite of him. So there's been rumors maybe he would go back to Chicago. There's been rumors that maybe he retires. It's been floated that the Chargers want to re-sign him. If you need a pass rusher, I know he's going on. He's
30.
already 34.
Okay.
He's already 34, which is kind of a red flag.
It's a little different with the edge rushers compared to linebackers. These guys can go a little longer. They get rotated out a little more so they can keep them fresh. I find him just a little too inconsistent for me.
The last two seasons in Los Angeles, career high 2023 10 PBUs. Last year, 9. 19 PBUs in the last 2 years. Everything before that, 24. So he's a little more active in the passing game, right? 23 sacks the last 2 years. I mean, you're talking about a guy that's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons of over 10 plus sacks. He can play defensive end with his hand in the dirt. He can stand up and play outside linebacker. Man, I know he's older. He's got a lot of mileage. But if you're looking for a guy for 1 to 2 years, I'd take him over Harold Landry any day of the week. The upside's there. Way, way, way more.
I just can't do it.
Oh.
No, I can't take him over Landry.
Well, you suck. You don't know what you're talking about.
Do what?
I said you suck. You don't know what you're talking about.
Man, so his tackles are up and down. If you look at his last 5 years.
Okay, so he's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seasons of 70 plus tackles.
All right. Most of those were at the beginning of his career.
There was, but 2 years ago he had 74.
Yeah.
2 years ago he had 74 tackles, 17 sacks, 22 QB hits, 21 TFLs, and he finished 9th for Defensive Player of the Year 2 years ago.
2 years ago he had a 6-sack game. I can't count on that. So I look at as.
I agree. But you also didn't have Joey Bosa this past year, who couldn't stay on the damn field.
That's every year. Don't give me that.
I think that makes a factor. I think it does.
Don't give me that. Joey Bosa is. You look up IR in the dictionary. Joey Bosa's right there. Khalil Mack is incredible. I find him a little too inconsistent, especially over the last 4 or 5 years. Even if you take the 6-sack game away, he still had over.
Still had 11.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. His tackles are too inconsistent. He's already talking about retirement, and that bothers me because when players say retirement, they're already thinking about quitting.
I've
And
heard that when you're thinking about it, you've already done it. I've heard that a
so,
lot.
Kelsey was talking about it, last year before, whatever, and he's dropped off a
What?
lot too.
Mizra Swifty?
Yeah. So when it starts getting in their head, I start getting away because you're already thinking it. What are you playing for? How motivated are you? You know what I mean? Like it's a factor for me. It really is.
Thought process. I agree with you.
Yeah,
I do. I agree with you.
I'll say of the edge rushers, he showed he can get 6 sacks in a game. He's had multiple 2-sack games. But that's kind of the problem. He's getting 2-sack games, and then I'm getting 5 games of no sacks.
Right.
So that I would, Trey Hendrickson, he's giving me a sack a game. Myles Garrett, he's giving me more sacks for the most part.
I cannot repeat this enough. If you need a pass rusher, screw fantasy football. If you're an NFL team and you need a pass rusher, go get Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Looking at you, Tennessee, there's not much you don't
Oh,
need.
my God, Tennessee, you dumb fucks, do this. Holy shit.
Khalil Mack probably has the most upside of all the edge rushers out there right now.
I think so, too.
But
so, staying with pass rushers.
Staying
with pass rushers.
Yep.
Chase Young had 31 tackles last year, second most of his career. 5.5 sacks, third most of his career. And he did this in New Orleans. There is rumors he could go back to San Francisco and play with his brother. But we saw that 2 years ago in 2023 when he had 10 tackles, 2.5 sacks. Now, he did rebound last year a little bit for New Orleans, but
yeah, it's
until last year, Chase Young never played a full season. Last year, he played all 17 games. But before that, he never played a full season. And I think with that, I mean, even his rookie year, which is considerably his best year ever, 44 tackles, 7.5 sacks. Yeah, 15 games, 1 defensive rookie of the year, and from there it's been a downfall, and I don't think he's getting back there.
Man, if he can stay healthy, and if he can get on the and on the right team, I think he could hit those numbers again and look more like that prospect we all hoped he would. Put number 2 overall pick.
Here you go. Khalil Mack or Chase Young. Don't mess this up.
So I'm not paying retail for Khalil Mack, so I'll pick up Chase Young later. Who do I expect to have a better season?
No way. Get the frick out of here with your bullshit. Holy fuck.
Chase Young gets on the right team. Popping off, man.
Did you just hear yourself talk and say you would take Chase Young over Khalil Mack? You just heard yourself say that.
I said I wouldn't pay up for Khalil Mack what other people are willing to pay for. So I will skip him and I will take Chase Young later on for the better value.
Explain that. I'll be right back.
Putting a lot on me, man. I'm not super in love with Chase Young. This is where I ranked him. Looking at some of his pass rush and stuff, this dude's getting the pressures. He's getting close to the sacks. He's just not always finishing and actually getting the sacks, So he's getting the pressures. And I really don't know what it is, why he has fallen off as hard as he has. He's got the talents. I don't know if the expectations were too high. It's the injuries. And then swapping teams, kind of like Ernest Jones. For whatever reason, he's bounced around a lot, and he looks good when he's on the field, but he's not on the field all the time. So I don't know what it would take if he was to go back to San Francisco, where Robert Saleh is now. I could see him really showing up, because I do not believe Robert Saleh was there last time. So I see him as one of the best defensive line coaches out there. If Robert Saleh gets a hold of Chase Young, yeah, I could see him turning him around and really showing us what he's worth.
Okay. So now you've got me all in a freaking tizzy here.
You got you tore up, man.
You do. You do. Harold Landry, Khalil Mack.
I still like Landry over Mack.
Oh, you're crazy as fuck.
Consistent.
Josh Sweat, Khalil Mack.
This one's a lot closer, and I flip-flopped on how to rank them. I put Sweat over Mack on
You're high.
I did, but I took it on the youth factor. I'm telling you, man, once they start saying I'm thinking about retiring, you're telling me your heart's not all the way in it, and you're not going to give me top tier production. I factor that in.
I get it, and that part I agree with. When you're thinking about retiring, I've heard it. You're already retired. It's time.
Yeah,
but just on pure talent and what they can give, I would take Khalil Mack over both Sweat and Landry easily.
On pure absolute talent, yeah, Mack, especially prime Mack.
Okay.
But this isn't prime Mack.
Yeah, but still, even at this age, I'd take Mack over both of them.
I have a hard time taking him over Landry.
Maybe not as much in Dynasty, but in a redraft, oh yeah, I'm smashing both of them.
And Mack gives me those big games, and then I feel like he gives me so many games where I get nothing.
Kyle's fired.
I'm writing that down.
He's
3-7-25. Kyle unemployed. All right.
That's right. Kyle's unemployed. Justin Reed. Very, very intriguing to me because
you didn't have him at all, did you?
No, actually, I had him at number 6.
I thought about putting him higher. I just, I don't know, man. He gets overlooked a lot. His tackle number is always pretty solid. I think it's because he doesn't give us like a lot of interceptions. I mean, he will get 1 or 2, maybe a sack, and it feels like that's kind of it. He's just a little more of a tackle guy. So without the threat of bigger play potential, that's where I feel like Cam Bynum was a little better than that, and I had him over Justin Reed, but I really struggled with that.
7 seasons played, 6 years of over 80-plus tackles.
That's fantastic. He's like probably
10
one of the best.
career interceptions, 46 career PBUs, 23 TFLs, 17 quarterback hits. So he's just not, even as a free safety, well, he's played both free and strong, but he's not just a coverage guy. He's been able to play down in the box, right? I mean, he helped Houston be significant. He's helped Kansas City the last 3 years be significant. I think he's one of the more underrated free agents out there right now. I'd love to see Tennessee sign him, but I don't know that they will. But
they'd ruin him. So don't wish that on him. Of course
they would. That's what they do.
Don't wish that on him. Man, if he could make it down to Miami, that'd be cool. Since we're not going to keep Hollins.
Exactly, because Tennessee's apparently one of the front runners for hauling 15 to 20 million, I heard today, which is stupid today. Yeah. So if he leaves to go to Tennessee or Carolina, which I heard was the 2 front runners.
Wow.
Yes, put him in Miami, and he's a dog down there. Oh, my God, that'd be insane.
Yeah, well, Miami doesn't offer much in front of him. I think Jordan Brooks is the only linebacker that's coming back. The defensive line's all getting shaken up. There's a lot of turnover going on in Miami right now.
Yeah, there is, especially defensively. Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, Justin Reed, one of the more, like I said, consistent, underrated guys. I usually just miss out on him in drafts. I was able to get him
I think I do too, right?
in a couple
I
of
think I say, okay, he's not an elite guy. He's not a Buda
he's not an
Baker.
elite, right?
He's not a Derwin James, so on and
Right.
so on. And I drop him. He's
Right
not a
before
Jesse
I'm going to
Bates.
take
Right?
him, he goes.
Yes. Yes.
That's what happens to me. It happens a lot, and
Yes.
so I'm not the only one that values him there. Like he's definitely not the top guy. He's a safety 2, and he's like one of the top safety 2s out there, probably, just based on
I agree.
consistency alone.
I agree. DeMarcus Lawrence. Oof.
I put him on there just because he's gave me some good seasons in the past. This is his shout out. His sacks aren't there anymore. He's just not that guy. He gets injured, but his tackles are decent. He's had some 50-plus tackles over the last 3 years. He's last year that entire defensive line for Dallas looked odd outside of Parsons. Well, Parsons was hurt for a while.
When he has played 16 games or more, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 seasons of 16 games or more, 6 of those he's had 50-plus tackles. And the one outlier was 45.
Yeah. But getting him to play that many games in a season isn't always the easiest. I think age has cut him, and there's no guarantee he's playing across from Parsons. Having Parsons over there, you would think would help him, and he just hasn't thrown up the sacks the way I thought he would with Parsons there.
Yeah, here's the thing with sacks. 2017, 14 and a half. 2018, 10 and a half. Since then, his highest has been 6 and a half. He has not even sniffed double-digit sacks. Yeah.
That's good.
So even with the tackles, which is, if you're getting 50, 60 tackles a season for a defensive end edge, that's pretty good. Not top tier, but that's above average. But if you're not getting double-digit sacks, that's rough.
Yeah. Then the injuries, he's missed a lot of games. A lot of years cut short. I can't trust him to stay on the field. And when he is on the field, if he doesn't have somebody elite across the board, can he even give me 5 sacks? I don't know.
Well, he played 17 games in 2023 with Micah Parsons on the other side, and he only had 4 sacks.
Is that the year Dorrance Armstrong popped off, where they were like rotating those guys more? I don't know.
I can tell you in just a second.
He's just not producing. I mean, he's getting some tackles, but he's not giving us the sacks, I guess.
2023. You are correct. Dorrance Armstrong was second with 7.5. Yep.
Yeah, Dallas, man. That's Dallas for you. Yeah, I feel like Lawrence is, for the most part, is a bit washed, but if he can hang in there for most of the season, he offers a pretty decent tackle for an edge rusher. But
all right, and the last one that you have is Javon Holland. We kind of touched on him a minute.
As a Dolphin fan, I'd like to have him higher.
Yeah, I would too. All indications is he's gone from Miami. They're not going to resign him. Of course, if he's commanding 15 to 20 million for a safety, they're not going to pay that. They got other things they need to worry about.
Yeah.
I don't know that
He looked
if Tennessee paid this, I'm kind of worried because A, you got a Monty Hooker, but B, 62 tackles, and I know stats aren't everything, but a
sure.
career low 62 tackles, a career low 42 solos. It was the first year he did not have an interception. Uh, oof, I think
Yeah.
I look elsewhere. I'm not paying 15 to 20 million. I
No.
know he can do everything, right? He can play
Yeah.
free safety. He can play strong. He can play nickel. Could probably even play some corner in certain situations. But 15 to 20 million, I need to see more out of you than that.
Absolutely. He had that, I think his second year was when he had the most tackles and all, and I don't even think he broke 100 on that.
He
And
did not. He had 96 that year.
he does play more of that free safety role, which
And would be a
again,
good complement to Hooker's strong safety. I get
yeah,
that.
up in
But
the box
oof,
and whatnot. It would
that's
take a
a
team,
15 to 20 million is a lot.
yeah, but a team like Tennessee would have to overpay to get him here, or to
Oof.
come play because they have nothing else to offer other than money. They're not going to the playoffs, right?
Yeah, but see, that's the thing with Tennessee. Rather than pay him, I understand you're trying to build depth back up because you have no depth.
Yeah,
But I'm not going to pay 15 to 20 million for him. I would rather just, you're already going to suck. So go ahead and bite the bullet and draft somebody or sign somebody lesser, right? I mean, eh, go after a Justin Reed. Go after, who else did we have? Um,
Merrick.
yeah, Trayvon Merrick. Go after, I mean, Jeremy Chin if you wanted to. I mean, I
Yeah,
think there's so many options, or just draft a player. I'm not wasting 15 to 20 million when you have that much of a depth deficit on your roster.
yeah.
I just can't justify that.
I think if you put Javon Holland on Kansas City,
Oof.
do you think he outdoes Justin Reed's numbers? I think he could. I think he could
He,
be a bigger play guy, where Justin's more of that last, that solid enforcer there at the end. He's going to get the
yeah.
tackles
Well,
and all
see,
that.
that's the
Where
whole balancing act because
yeah,
it's not that Holland is bad, right?
right. I don't think he's been used right.
I don't think he's been used right, and I don't think he has the true talent around him. So, yes, I agree with you. Put
Yeah,
him in a Kansas City or somewhere like that, and I think his floor is a lot higher. His ceiling's a lot higher. I think
yeah,
both of
for
those
sure.
things can be true. But for the price tag that he's commanding and the teams that are willing to pay that, as an IDP owner, I'm avoiding that big time.
Yeah, like I said earlier, Justin Reed is one of the better safety twos out there. Javon Holland
Yeah.
could be, but again, defensive back, safety, I'm not sweating it. I'm not reaching for him. And if I don't get him, it's no big deal. Justin Reed is the one that irritates me the most that I consistently miss out on because he does return the value where I would take him, but I just miss out on him by a pick or two, and it infuriates me. So that's my goal for the 2025 season is to get more Justin Reed. Writing that down next to
Awesome.
Kyle being fired.
Yes. Write this down. Our
Yeah.
one listener question: where is our championship rings? They got lost in transit. How about that?
Yeah, who'd that come from? Anonymous?
Anonymous asshole. That's who it comes from.
I don't see that part on there. That must have been Kyle, huh? Because it clearly
That
says.
was Kyle. He's fired. Him and Dan is fired. Both of them are
Yeah.
fired again. They're not even here. They're fired.
Yeah, it says
No,
this is
I'm going to
definitely
get
not
those rings
Sean.
out to you. Yeah, I'm going to get those rings out. Just wanted to show them off a couple more times. But yeah, I've got your address. I've got Kyle's address. I've got Connor's address. I need one more, but I'll be getting those out. Thank you again to Trophies Mac. Appreciate them for being such a sponsor. We want to thank all of you all for tuning in and listening. Again, I know this is kind of new doing the live thing on YouTube. So go over to YouTube, like, rate, subscribe. Wherever you listen to podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, all that good stuff. And you can join Discord, right? Check out our Discord. Follow us on Twitter at IDP Nation. You can follow me at Hollywood Titan. You can follow him at Sean 836 or no 8386.
There you go.
I got it.
You got these people following the wrong Sean out there. There's no telling what he's telling them.
Hell, it might be an upgrade. You never know.
I'm going on Twitter. I'm
No,
checking all the other 83,085 songs to see.
Oh man. But we thank you for following right for now. We are doing every Friday night when we can. So get your questions in. Any rookie draft questions, roster questions, player questions, whatever you got, send them to us. We'll try to answer them on the show. Spread the word. I know this is new. This is our second live episode on YouTube. So we'll be back next week. With that, we appreciate you, and we will see you next week.
I'll be checking my mailbox for that ring come Monday.
I hope a tornado takes off.
Are you telling me you're not going to overnight it? That's a fantasy football championship ring.
Really? You want me to pay extra for that bullshit? Really?
If I remember correctly, I gave you an extra beatdown during the championship game. Let me pull that up.
Okay, now you're going to get this ring in June.